Hi, today I'm really excited to talk to you about my favorite fairy tale retellings, meaning the ones that have been turned into novels. So, let's get started. One of my favorite things about fairy tale retellings is how an author takes the elements that are in a fairy tale, like the glass slipper or the sleeping Snow White princess or whatever, and makes them into a novel and explains all of these elements so that they make sense to us as a reader. I think I'm pretty consistently fascinated by that. I always love how authors do it, and even when they're telling the same fairy tale, they do it in such different and interesting ways. All of these fairy tale retellings do a really good job of that. They make those elements that are somewhat ridiculous in the original fairy tale and make them into something that makes sense in a novel where there could be magic or super sciencey stuff or things like that. And I love it. I'm fascinated by how authors do this, and all of these retellings, the authors do it so well. The first category I have to talk about is Cinderella fairy tale retellings, my two favorites of those. So here are my two favorite Cinderella fairy tale retellings. The first one, as you can see, is Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine, and I don't think it was the first fairy tale retelling I'd ever done, but I just loved how well she did that job of combining elements, making it make sense that the glass slippers only fit her, and why the prince didn't recognize her at the ball, stuff like that. And then this one, Cinder, is so fantastic. It's a futuristic fairy tale retelling where Cinder is a cyborg and she lives in the future, and there's robots and cyborgs and all that kind of stuff. But again, like, it follows the story of Cinderella. There's a ball, there's a prince, and even a glass slipper that gets lost. So I really love both of these. Going along with Cinder, it's part of what do you call that? It's not a trilogy, a quadrilogy. Anyway, there's 4 of them. So I only own 3 of the Lunar Chronicles so far. I still haven't got Winter, but Scarlet is a Little Red Riding Hood retelling, and Cress is a Rapunzel retelling, and then the 4th book, Winter, is a Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs retelling. They do such a good job of following the fairy tale on their own, and then still building on the story and making a complete story arc between all 4 books, which I think is awesome. My next category is East of the Sun, West of the Moon. These fairy tales, I have 2 of them that I really love, but I only have 1 book. So this one is Sun, Moon, Ice and Snow by Jessica Day George. The other one is East by Edith Patu, and both of them are so great. They're so fun. If you don't know the story of East of the Sun, West of the Moon, I recommend looking it up and reading it. But it's basically sort of a Beauty and the Beast thing. That a girl goes to live with a polar bear in a castle, and she accidentally makes his curse worse because he's actually a cursed man, and then she has to go save him. The next category I have for you is the 12 Dancing Princesses, or the shoes that were danced to pieces. And there's quite a few retellings of this. I have 3 favorites. One of them that I don't have, Princess of the Midnight Ball by Jessica Day George, and she was also the author of Sun, Moon, Ice and Snow. And then this one, Entwined, is one of my favorites. It's by Heather Dixon, and it's a fabulous retelling. And this one, which you can't see the cover of, is Wildwood Dancing by Juliette Marillier. They are all awesome. They all do a really good job explaining why the princesses are down under the castle in a magical wood dancing their shoes to pieces, and all come up with great explanations of why it's happening and how they can't get out of it until the the soldier with the invisible cloak comes along. The next category I have for you is, I doubled it because both of these books are by Shannon Hale, and again, I only own one. The first one is The Goose Girl, retelling of The Goose Girl, and this is a really fun one. It was one of the first retellings that I read, and it was so enchanting. I loved the explanations, the way that she talks to wind, and when you read the original story of The Goose Girl, she talks to wind, but it again doesn't make sense, but in the novel it does. And the other one by Shannon Hale is called Book of 1,000 Days, and it's based on the fairy tale of Maid Maylene, and it involves a girl and a maid and a princess, and they're locked in a tower for a really long time, and then they get out and crazy things happen. So I love both of those. They're great. Now I have one Beauty and the Beast retelling. There's a lot of Beauty and the Beast retellings, but I just can't remember reading any that I liked as much as Beauty. It's by Robin McKinley, and I think that, I don't know, it's probably one of the oldest fairy tale retellings, meaning like it was written before the other ones. So I feel like it's kind of a, what would the word be? The jumping off point. Like, more authors read books like this, or maybe this specific book, and then got inspired to create their own. And even with its flaws, I love it. I love the characters. I love Beauty and relating to her. I like the Beast. I like just the whole thing. It's a great one. So if you haven't read Beauty by Robin McKinley, go read that one. And I have one Rumpelstiltskin retelling for you that I really enjoy. It's called A Curse as Dark as Gold, and this one I really enjoy because it does such a good job incorporating historical aspects in. It's based in a real time period where it's around the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, and it feels just very like it actually could have happened, despite the fantasy elements and ghosts and things like that. The author of this one is Elizabeth C. Bunce, and it's a really fun one. It reads a little bit more like a historical fiction, so there is that, but I really like historical fiction as well as fantasy, so it's a good mashup between the two. Snow White and Rose Red is not the same as Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's a different fairy tale, and this one is by Patricia C. Reedy. Snow White and Rose Red is a story about two sisters who they help a mean dwarf and a cursed bear, and the original fairy tale is a little bit of maybe a mess. They're just kind of going around, and there's these rose bushes, and again, like this fairy tale retelling does a good job of kind of fixing it up, making it make sense, giving the characters some personality. It's fun to read. So the last category I have for you is some fairy tale mashups that I love. There's two of them, and they are, the first one is Dealing with Dragons by Patricia C. Reedy, which is the same author as Snow White and Rose Red. And the other one is My Fair Godmother by Jeanette Rallison. Dealing with Dragons, it's the story of a princess who doesn't like, the traditional way of doing things. She's a little bit more of a tomboy. She's a little bit smarter than all the other princesses depicted in the book, and so she runs away to her own adventure. This one has a lot of fairy tale elements, so it's kind of like if you like fairy tales and you're reading it, there's a lot of like inside fairy tale jokes that you get when you read it, and the story is really fun too. And then My Fair Godmother is about a girl from modern times who gets cursed by her fairy godmother and sent back into some different fairy tales, and has to figure out how to live in them, and also fix the mistakes that she's made because she's wished for those things, and the fairy godmother messes up the wishes, or maybe on purpose, but anyway, so she has to go and fix what she's done, including making sure that a cute boy doesn't get stuck in the past. So we love stories with cute boys. Okay. Anyway, that is all I have for you. I hope you like this video. I hope if you read any of these stories and you like them, go ahead and comment below and tell me what you thought. And if you have any other suggestions for fairy tale retellings, then go ahead and comment those below too. I've read a lot more than this, but these ones were my more favorite ones, and I'm always looking for more, so go ahead and let me know what they are.